Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you've been keeping the blue side up and the brown side down. Well, since we've gotten onto the subject here of flight safety and accidents and training and stuff like that, one of the things we train for when we go there are wind shear encounters. And a wind shear is an abrupt change in wind direction. You have a wind shear with thunderstorms. And one of the things you can get with a thunderstorm are microbursts. Microbursts being columns of rapidly descending air. And these microbursts, the air tends to come down so fast that it will exceed the performance capability of the aircraft. I mean, you may be climbing, but the airplane will still be sinking with that column of air. When that column of air hits the ground, then it's like an inverted mushroom. It just goes out in all directions. And these things have been so strong before that they flattened trees. And somebody had asked me, and I was going to put this in another video, if I had ever been in an emergency. Well, the couple of times I have, but probably what would have been the worst one, pretty much, career-ending, life-ending type accident. Something happened to me right after I had started learning how to fly. When I started flying, it was 1987, and in June of 1987, I had just soloed. I was flying out of Memphis International. I was a member of a flying club called Lazy 8 Flying Club. My instructor was a fellow named Gordon. Gordon had been in the Air Force for 18 years, had been an air traffic controller. Left the Air Force, went into the Army, became a helicopter pilot, flew in Vietnam. Unfortunately, along the way, he lost an eye, so he had a glass eye. And he was kind of a short guy, muscular, with a gray crew cut. It kind of reminded me of a little bulldog or something. But he and I were flying out to West Memphis. That was our practice area. It was a late June afternoon, hot, humid, and as we were going out there, you could see that the clouds were starting to develop. They were starting to build up. We did the pattern a couple of times, and then it was evident that we needed to head back. So he told me to call Memphis Approach. I called Memphis Approach and requested a local IFR back to Memphis International. The Memphis Approach controller gave us ATC squawk, which we put in the transponder. That way they would be able to see us on their radar, know who we were. He told us to climb to an altitude and gave us a heading to fly, and said he was giving us vectors around the developing thunderstorms down to the south. Well, Gordon didn't like this, so he got on the radio and started arguing with this guy. And eventually the approach controller relented, and he cleared us direct to the Memphis VOR. The Memphis VOR sitting right on the field there. So off we go, heading towards Memphis VOR. And it's really not very far from West Memphis to Memphis. And within a minute or two, we were in the clouds. And we were getting bumped around pretty good. You know, I was flying the little airplane on the attitude indicator, because I'd had a little instrument training with him. And he was coaching me along, so we're doing okay. And all of a sudden, we're just really getting beat up. I mean, we're getting knocked all around, and it's getting darker, and it's getting darker. And Gordon's coaching me along, and all of a sudden it just smoothed out. But now it's getting really dark. And we hit rain, and we hit a lot of rain. And Gordon's having to holler for me to hear him because we're getting so much noise on the windshield, all this rain hitting us. And he's telling me, he keeps looking over there asking what this speed is and this, and all of a sudden we start going down. And I try to hold the altitude, and we can't, you know, and I'm slowing, and we're still going down, and he's hollering, and he's telling me to fly this airspeed. The airspeed was our best angle of climb speed is what it was. It would give us our best angle, best performance. And I've got full power, I'm holding this speed, and we are going down. I mean, that altimeter is winding down like that. You know, we're heading towards the ground. And water is coming in through the air vents. There were air vents up here for fresh air, and it's just pouring down on my legs, and he's leaning over and he's hollering. What he's hollering this whole time is, he's hollering about the airplane. And Gordon has been hollering at me, and he's hollering, a lot of people think planes like this can't fly in this weather. But it's not the plane, it's the man. It's the man that makes it fly. And then he'd pause and look over and say, are you on that speed? Yeah, I am. He says, it's the man. It's the man. And that altimeter's just going down like this. And controller is hollering on the radio. He's just told us he's given us a low altitude alert, and then he's telling he's lost us on the radar, and he's hollering, and Gordon's hollering. And I remember thinking to myself, I was feeling so sad. I thought, Gordon, you have killed us, because we were running out of altitude. That airplane was not going to climb. So we're in this microburst encounter. I mean, this column of cold air is just taking us down, and it's full of rain. And we're going down, and it's just unwinding, and all of a sudden, just as soon as all this happened, we pop out of the bottom. When we pop out of the bottom of this thing, it's not over now, because we're just like several hundred feet over the ground, and we're over an office park with all these aerials and stuff. And this approach controller is still hollering on the radio, telling us to climb, climb. And Gordon has stopped hollering, and we actually fly on out of it. And we call the approach controller, because, I mean, we were busy. I mean, we weren't on that radio. And tell the guy we can climb now. And you can just hear the relief in his voice. And he tells us to climb to this altitude. And not long after that, we get to Memphis, Roof Tower. Now, we're trying to outrun this thunderstorm that is heading east now. It's right behind us. And when we had come out of it, I mean, we were not that far from the airport. So we come around to land, and the thunderstorm is so close to us now that the guy in the tower is calling the distance of the rain front by giving us the streets that he can actually see are disappearing as it moves towards us. And we land just right before that rain front hits us. No, actually, we land and we pull off onto the taxiway, and then we just get pounded by this rain. But by that time, we're on the ground. We're safe. Oh, and Gordon and I, he never said a word afterwards about it, and neither did I. I didn't tell anybody about it until really quite a while afterwards. But I sure learned a lot from it. I'll tell you one thing I did learn: you gotta look out for yourself, and you gotta say no. You know, because we should have turned to the south. We should have gone around that thunderstorm. Weather's nothing to play with. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, press like, subscribe if you want more, or leave comments. Love comments. I'll see what I can do to answer those. And as always, fly safe.